Alrighty guys, we're back for Mono Black Sacrifice, and this is a Duskmourn standard brew, and I'm Redcat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked, but first things first, this was a suggestion down in the comments, and over in the Discord as well, so thank you so much for the suggestion. It's gonna be a fun one. Got a bit of an enchantment theme packed in here, so we got 4 Balemurk Leeches, 2 mana 2/2 with Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, each opponent loses 1 life. Cool stuff, man. I hope this does a thing today. Now, a lot of our enchantments in here are actually doubling as removal, like all 4 Nowhere to Run, 2 mana enchantment with Flash. When it enters, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3 until end of turn. Not bad, but then also, on this enchantment, creatures your opponents control can be targets of spells and abilities as though they didn't have hexproof. Okay, but then also, ward abilities of those creatures don't trigger. This is a very interesting card. I'm keeping my eye on it for sure. In this deck in particular, it should be terrific. We also have all 4, which is Vanity, too, doubling as that removal for the top part of this saga. Chapter 1, destroy target creature and opponent controls with mana value 2 or less, which happens to be a lot of creatures. Chapter 2, food token. Chapter 3, wicked roll token, which also fits the enchantment theme, right? So cool stuff. More enchantments we have. We have 4. Fear of Lost Teeth. 1 mana, 1/1. When it dies, deals 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life as well. I like it. It should be decent in here. Then we got a couple Final Vengeance. This is a 1 mana sorcery speed. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature or enchantment. Okay. Exile target creature. Okay. Honestly looks pretty good, man. Thank goodness it's sorcery speed, because I think at instant speed this would have been absolutely disgusting. So we have a bunch of stuff that we just don't mind sacrificing, like 4 Greedy Freebooters. Yeah, we don't mind popping this. Scrying is really good. The treasure token is terrific. So all 4 Hopeless Nightmare as well. It enters, opponent discards a card, and loses 2 life as well. That should be pretty darn good if we have a Leech or 2 on the board, right? All of a sudden that gets very dangerous. And then when it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, Scrying 2 always comes in handy. We have a 1 of Scavenger's Talent, also fitting the enchantment theme, kind of fitting the sacrifice theme as well. Should be fine and dandy in here. More ways to sacrifice our things and restock our hand. A couple Fanatical Offerings should be fine and dandy. Now you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, and there's other ways in here to get artifacts, of course, like Treasure on Freebooter, right? The food on Talent, and then also the food on which is Vanity, but it's not going to be unheard of to just sacrifice a creature and be fine with that too. So draw 2 cards, create a map token. The offerings, of course, play into themselves because you can always pop that map token later on. I don't know why I'm taking so long to justify Fanatical Offering in here. We played with it in the past. It is pretty darn good. We do have more ways to restock our hand, though. We got a couple of Phyrexian Arenas. 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Hopefully, we're not losing too much life on this, and hopefully that card is always worth that 1 life. So, kinda, sorta, the main build around here, I probably should have went over this first. Braids, Arisen Nightmare, of course, making the cut, and it's all 4 of them, even though it's a legendary creature. This always has a really huge target on its back, and it's going to pair beautifully with everything in here, right? So, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card too. So lots of ways to keep our hand nice and stocked up here. But really, even if we weren't drawing a card off Braids, the 2 life is enough for me to warrant it in a build like this. Now we're getting to the top end, but actually not the top end, because we got to do some rearranging here. We got a room. Funeral Room, and Awakening Hall. Awakening Hall is 8 mana, so I don't know how often we're going to get to that in this build, or how often we even want to get to that, because when you unlock this door, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. We don't have like too many chunky things that we'd want to bring back for 8 whole mana, but this is mainly in here for Funeral Room. 3 mana Enchantment Room. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Cool stuff, man. I think that will do the thing. We also have a top end of a couple of Rottenmouth Vipers. If you guys look at this deck list, we should have plenty of permanents on the board at any given time. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. and it costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way. I think we can get the Viper pretty cheap, and even if you're not getting it super cheap, even like 4 mana is totally worth it. As it enters or attacks, you put a blight counter on it. Then for each blight counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Solid creature that honestly I'm surprised we don't see more of. We got 20 swamp. We have a Valgavoth's Lair as well. Enchantment land. It has hexproof. Enters tapped, unfortunately. As it enters, you choose a color, which of course in this build it's going to be red. No, it's going to be black. And then you could tap this to add 1 mana of the chosen color. So is this going to be worth it, or do we just want a 21 swamp instead? I think it'll be fine as a one of. It shouldn't slow us down too much, and then it works with all of our enchantment cards like the Leech and everything too. So, all right, guys, honorable mentions. A ton of stuff over here. A lot of stuff I actually traded out from the original suggested deck list so I could pack a bunch of new cards in here. Forsaken Miner was in the original suggested deck list. Bitter Triumph, definitely like keep your eye on what we're using as removal in this deck list, because Bitter Triumph, of course, could be pretty darn good. The Journal was in the original suggestion. Tithing Blade was in the original suggestion. Come Back Wrong was a card I thought about for the build. Lord Skitter was in the original suggestion. This Popular Egotist could have been pretty neat. The Defiled Crypt and Cadaver Lab is a card I considered for the list. Vein Ripper was in the original suggestion, and the brand spanking new Meat Hook Massacre 2 was a card that I considered for the list. All right, guys, hopefully that's everything. I do my dandiest to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video. Sometimes I fail. Either way, let's go ahead and take this into some ranked and see how we do. All right, we'll see if we can get right into that first game. In the meantime, what am I expecting from the build? I think it's going to be janky, even though like it looks really cool and it looks like we're going to have a lot of great synergies. I guess realistically, we just don't know where the meta is going to settle this close to a new set release. Oh, I don't mind this hand. We'll keep this. Yeah, early removal here, early setup into early card draw. I guess we can consider that early, right? I don't mind this hand at all. Yeah, once a new set releases, we never know where the meta is going to settle. And so it's hard to say like, oh, well, this is going to be really good or this is going to be really janky or something, you know? So, we could keep the Nowhere to Run open. We might as well just get this to level 2, though. It's fine. It's totally fine. We also could have went Witch's Vanity and start getting that ball rolling too, so we'd have Braids next turn. Oh, up the beanstalk. I guess we'll just set up with the Phyrexian Arena then. I mean, the opponent's taking turns for setup as well, so... yeah, extra card draw this early on should be pretty darn good. This style of deck list, of course, has plenty of ways to remove enchantments. All right. Hey, a Leech. That's pretty good. When do I want to... yeah, at some point we just have to accept that, like, the Witch's Vanity might not hit a creature in the opponent's deck list, so we just want to play it for some value. And that's probably this turn. Then we'll try to set up the Braids next turn. We'll see if the Leech can get a go for the throw out of the opponent's hand or something too. Yeah, if we set up the Vanity, we'll get the food next turn. We could skip the Wicked Roll, maybe sacrifice the Vanity to the Braids. No, we'd sacrifice the food. We'd want the Wicked Roll. Yeah, let's see this. All right. Not terrible, guys. Pinging the opponent. At some point, we just have to accept Witch's Vanity might not hit anything. Bird Migration. Grab an island. I'd like to say that like we're sitting pretty with our setup, but against Domain, yeah, this might be a problem. But I'm really happy that we have Phyrexian Arena on the board. All right, good stuff, man. Good draws. Wow. Wow. Okay. I guess we just play everything. Play it all. Let's do this. Fear of Lost Teeth. Pings for 1. Hopeless Nightmare. Pings for 1. I want to do this before the swing, guys, because Elspeth's Smite is everywhere. I've seen a lot of Elspeth Smite recently. That doesn't mean we don't risk the swing. Nice. See, we still get the 2 through. Braids. Now, if we pop the Fear of Lost Teeth, we'll ping another one through, and we'll get a food back as well. As tempting as it is to, like, hit some other stuff here, I think hitting the Fear of Lost Teeth is fine, especially in a Sunfall, when you're up against a Sunfall style build. So at least we'll get the death trigger on everything here. So we'll poke 1. Who do we want to mill? I'm not sure why I took the... I guess we mill ourselves. There's a small chance that we use the bottom ability on the talent to bring something back. I guess. I don't know. Hopeless Nightmare. Oh, wow, that would have been really good. Well, we'll see if our creatures even survive the turn, though. Not bad, dude. A really good showcase for the first game, having a terrific setup and showcasing a lot of the synergies right out the gate. Deadly cover-up. So our creatures aren't surviving, but it also wasn't a Sunfall, so we still would have gotten the death trigger. So that's like very important to think about. Oh, they're taking my Braids, you monster. All right, all right. So on level 3 of this, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So I don't know if like Braids is even what we'd want to hit at that point too, but definitely gonna... That's a really good hit for the opponent, man. All right, land. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. And we actually missed the Wicked Roll on the Vanity as well. Do I mill myself? I guess so. I don't know. I don't really know what we do with the level 2 on the Scavenger's talent, you know what I mean? We really don't. So we could try to take a turn for some setup here. Or we could try to... We have a lot of things we can sacrifice, huh? I wouldn't mind bringing back the Leech, but it probably just ends up dying anyways. Something else that the opponent has. We'll start with the Hopeless Nightmare then. Maybe get some scrying through. This is an excessive amount of mana for only having 21 lands in here, right? I think so. Putting up a fight, though. There's a swamp. Get this to level 3. You don't have to pay to bring stuff back, but we will because we don't really need the food and the Hopeless Nightmares. I'm going to keep 1 Hopeless Nightmare around and then get rid of 2 food. And then I'll bring back the Leech, I guess. Bring back the Leech. It has a finality counter on it. Oh, that's right. Do we... What do we do, man? Do we keep milling ourselves? There's a chance of seeing a Rottenmouth. This one of Scavenger's talent being a little awkward where I really don't know what I want to do with the mills. But I guess it makes sense now that it's at level 3. Funeral Room. We have so much mana that the Awakening Hall is like right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 in hand. If I keep the swamp, we draw into Funeral Room. If I keep the swamp, we'll have the 8. I guess we'll try it, right? That could be really cool, man. Nowhere to Run is open for their turn if we need it. Sheoldred. Oh, my Nowhere to Run doesn't hit that. Wonder if I just like play this for fun. Probably not. I don't think we popped the food either. Impending. That'll be here in no time. Tempted by the Nowhere to Run just for the sake of getting more down, but I don't think so. Not yet, right? That's right. We're going to be drawing into the swamp. We're going to be taking so much damage that we should probably sacrifice We should probably sacrifice the Phyrexian Arena. Right? We might be able to cheese the 2 through here. They know we have nowhere to run. If they didn't know, then maybe they'd block, but probably not, because they're going to be gaining the 2 back anyways from the Sheoldred. Well, let's get Funeral Room down. This is actually really sick, man. We're probably going to sacrifice the Phyrexian Arena since they have the Sheoldred. Swing with the Leech. They take the 2. We'll still keep the Nowhere to Run open, I guess. Scavenger's Talent really coming in handy, actually. Leyline Binding. They probably want to hit the card we just played. So that way, when we get 8 mana, we don't absolutely just obliterate, you know? Oh, they might pick up the talent. They are picking up the talent. That could be a problem. Can we still... Oh, we still get the ability? Oh, I'm getting rid of the Phyrexian Arena on the board for sure. Getting that Scry 2 is going to be huge as well. And we'll bring back another Leech. Totally worth it. Witch's Vanity. I'll send 1. But I don't mind seeing just more enchantments off the top. Even though next turn, we're going to try to unlock this room. Extra food. Yeah, just... No, I don't know what I'm looking for. I really don't. Actually, having trouble playing this as, like, finding what value is worth it against a domain build. And domain just has so much value all the time. Especially once that Sheoldred hit, that is a lot of extra life gain every turn. Luckily, Atraxa doesn't say draw. In other words, that would be devastating. But Awaken the Hall, with double leeches on the board and a bunch of Fear of Lost Teeth in the grave. If we flash down Nowhere to Run... See, that's the problem, right? We actually have to... We have to get that damage through, but they're gaining so much life. I'm just going to play Nowhere to Run while we have the open mana, ping through an extra 2, right? We'll target any of them. It doesn't really matter. Fanatical Offering. Nice. Down to 11. Play the 8th. Fanatical Offering's cool and all, but we're unlocking that room, dude. Heck yeah. Another 2 coming through. Then we're getting 3... Fear of Lost Teeth, so 6 triggers on the leeches, guys. How freaking cool is that? That's awesome. Unfortunately, too much life gain on the opponent's side of things. If we would have maybe tried to find removal, like Fanatical Offering, pop one of our leeches, because we don't have any artifacts remaining. Man, that's cool. That's really, really cool. I'm glad that we got to showcase the deck list this much. Of course, it would have been nice to get the victory, but this Overlord doesn't have trample. I guess we have like a small chance. No, not really, because the Atraxa is going to put them back up to 13, and they wouldn't even have to really play anything for the turn at that point. They could even go up to 17 with the frill back here too. So we'll chump on the ground. The Leyline Binding hitting the Scavenger's Talent was actually really good for them too. Wait, how low did we get them last turn? We got them to 4, right? Yeah. Frill back, they're definitely going to gain that life. Yeah, if we would have swung with the leeches, it wouldn't have been worth it at all. Unless we had 2 of the funeral rooms. Oh no, it pops an enchantment. And they exile our graveyard. Not even looking at those abilities on the throwback. You monster, opponent. chilling at 15. Let's draw down to 4. Freebooter, not bad. Let's do this. We end the game by drawing. We'll drop them the GGs. Man. Oh, I guess you know what we could have done? We could have swung with the Fear of Lost Teeth and maybe... Oh, it's just land anyways. That's fine, that's fine. I was gonna say, we could have swung with the Fear of Lost Teeth to gain a couple. But also, they could have just let it go through. They didn't have to block those for us to gain life. That was a weird game. I'm pleased with how the deck performed. I don't know how to feel about that game. It's like a really good first game, but then we ended up losing to an overwhelming amount of power from Domain. Like, I guess I'm on the fence about the first game, but I'm also a little proud of the deck list for what it was able to do there. All right, opponent, what y'all bringing to the table, buddy? Opponent goes first. Might be a problem. Let's see what happens. Blue. Enchantments. Oh, planes. Oh, we should be scared. Luckily, Vanity actually has a target, though, now. Fear of Lost Teeth would have been a bit better. Nowhere to run. We're going to save. We're going to start rolling with the Vanity. Consider the Braids. Consider not using the Braids ability yet. Okay. Okay, at that point, we'll probably go Nowhere to Run, and then Fear of Lost Teeth. That be acceptable? I'm going to do it now before they have protection open too, right? The Hall Creeper is pretty scary, and just going removal is really good for us. If we get to keep the Fear of Lost Teeth around, it'll get a wicked roll. Okay, Glimmer comes down. All right, options. Let's go... I mean, honestly, we probably should pop this Glimmer. Oh, guys, if they had protection, the Nowhere to Run would have gotten rid of it anyways, right? I believe so. I mean, I guess I'll swing. It technically trades into it if we want it to. So, yeah, we do cheese the 2 through. Final Vengeance is an option that I'm going to hold back on for now, and I hope that's okay. We're going to pop the Wicked Roll, and I'm going to keep that food around for now, in case we see like a Fanatical Offering or something. Going to be Sheltered by Ghosts, so yeah, Nowhere to Run. The ward ability won't happen on that. So we will be able to take care of that, which is awesome. We'll have to lose the Fear of Lost Teeth. Oh, they copy the Fear of Lost Teeth with the Mockingbird. Pretty cool. Alright. Funeral Room. Final Vengeance. And then Nowhere to Run gets around that. We'll pop the Fear of Lost Teeth. Yeah, we don't want them trading into that. But now we can go like this, right? Pop their Fear of Lost Teeth. Final Vengeance exiles the Glimmer. Because the ward doesn't activate with Nowhere to Run on the board, which is so cool, guys. And now we will use the food token. Although, going for a swamp would work too, I guess. Since we have so much mana. We only got 21 mana in here, guys. It's a little silly, right? GG opponent. GG, a lot of synergies, man. Very cool stuff. Do we want to consider 20 mana after these first 2 games? Nope, not yet. Not yet. We'll hold off for now. 21 mana should still be about where we want to sit. We definitely want to see our 3-on-3. Oh, you don't want to sit on 2 mana for too long in a deck list like this. But yeah, holding off. And then also when you do end up flooding, if you can get that other side of the room flipped, I mean, that is pretty sick. Opponent goes first. I don't mind this hand at all. And this is a perfect example of wanting to see 3-on-3, right? So we'll see how many turns in a row we go with just these 2 mana. As, yeah, just a very small flood for the first 2 games doesn't mean anything. It's always like more testing required for sure. Okay. Opponent, are you there, buddy? Are you there? Let's go ahead and pause the recording while the opponent shows up. The opponent has arrived. We'll keep this. Probably turn 1 Freebooter over Nightmare, because Freebooter can get popped to the Offering. Offering helps us find our 3rd mana that I've been saying that we need, right? So I think that's fine. Mysterious Spear might just have to keep the nowhere to run open on turn 2 anyways. Getting a chump blocker down is never really great against mono red. Way too many ways to give trample. Ooh, it's Gruul. Even more ways to give trample, right? The Challenger. I'll block. I don't mind. Like, while we have the chump block, we might as well go for the chump block. Fear of Lost Teeth. I'm gonna keep it. Even it's not mana, but I don't mind that. So Nowhere to Run can come down now. Take care of the Challenger before they boost it above the -3/-3. We also have we have a treasure token, first of all, but getting Braids down against this, like instantly lightning striked or something, would feel pretty bad. So it's probably Nowhere to Run before they can get the Prowess above the -3/-3. And then we'll use the 1 to get the Fear of Lost Teeth, which is, you know, there's a reason I kept this on top. And it's definitely better than the Nightmare right now. And I hope it's okay to pop our treasure just to get that down. Gonna be Swift Spear. I think we still attempt the chump. Right? There's a chance. It's a small chance. But there's a chance that we might be able to do something with this Fear of Lost Teeth. Go Shock to our face. So we actually did successfully chump again, guys. And we'll just poke the opponent's face. It's too bad we couldn't take out a Swift Spirit, but... Uh-oh. Rottenmouth Viper. Not enough permanents on the board right now. Alright. Hopeless Nightmare. And Scavenger's Talent is all we have. No creatures or artifacts to sacrifice to the Fanatical Offering. I guess we could have popped the treasure for the Offering, but that's like 3 mana draw 2 with a treasure token. Or a map token. Rid of a Witchstalker Frenzy. We're probably in danger, guys. If we don't see mana off the top too, even if we do see mana, I don't know exactly what this hand is going to do right now. Prowess. They find mana. It's tapped, thank goodness. Down to 11. Oh, which is Vanity. That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's good. That's a really good draw. Get rid of a Swift Spear. At any point, we should technically be in danger at any point in this game. Rottenmouth Viper, if we pop everything on this board, we do have it at 2. Slick Shot Show Off. Okay. Monstrous Rage. 8 coming through, so we're going down to 3. So, lucky us. Well, it was not... It was not mana. We're likely dead next turn. We don't know what's left in their hand. Yeah, lucky us. They could have gone much faster this game, probably. Or I should say, they could have seen things in a faster order. I am thinking, opponent. So we have Fanatical Offering. We could pop the food, right? We could pop the food for life gain too. Maybe that would help us survive. Probably not, though. So anyways, Fanatical Offering, pop the food. If we see land, yeah, that's it's worth it. Because if we see land, Rottenmouth Viper will still just be 1 mana. There's land. Okay. At least we saw the 1 mana here. And now we sacrifice all of them for a 1 mana Rottenmouth Viper. Mana on top, Fanatical Offering. It doesn't really matter. The 4th doesn't matter based on our hand right now. So Rottenmouth Viper at the very least blocks the Swift Spear. So if they don't have some kind of boost for the Slick Shot, which they probably do, they want to take the 4 life here, I would assume. Unless their 1 card in hand is just like a land. Even then. That's pretty cool though. 1 mana Viper. Swing in the air and get the GGs ready. It is in fact a GG's. It was a Snakeskin Veil. Yeah, with these Snakeskin Veils and everything, and like Azorius enchantments and whatnot too, it's actually super interesting. Hold on, I want to look at my graveyard here. It's super interesting to think about this nowhere to run. I wonder how often this is actually going to come into play. Because technically, this is another game where nowhere to run could have come into play when there's cards in there like Snakeskin Veil and stuff. So, very interesting. It kind of felt like we got a little unlucky in that game, but we still really showcased a lot of the synergies in the build. We're going to keep going, guys. 31 minutes in. I think we easily have time for 1 more match. And while I have you here, make sure you check out that description where we got that Discord link as well as that Patreon link too if you're interested in supporting the channel that way or joining either of those up. And also, while we're talking all that YouTube nonsense, if you like the video, make sure you actually drop it a like. And if you enjoy the channel, then consider subscribing as well, because it really does help out the channel. And thank you guys. All right. Opponent goes first. I don't mind this hand at all. With Witch's Vanity here. Nice. No 1-drop is huge for us. That's good news. That's really good news, let me tell you. All right, let's start with Fear of Lost Teeth. Do they shock it away? They do not. Mishra's Foundry. Emberheart Challenger. I would take that chump. It's not a chump, it's a trade. Beautiful. Wasn't even thinking about that. It's a really good trade is what that is. Get the leech down. There's our 3-on-3, guys. That's what we desperately needed in that last game. That's, if nothing else, that's what that last game showed us, right? That little bit of extra mana. And the Fold Mouse is going to get popped to the Witch's Vanity. They have a mountain open, but I guess, yeah, they could shock the leech, but where to run will come in handy later, I would say. We'll start with Witch's Vanity for sure. Get that Manifold Mouse off the board. Extra damage poking through. I guess before the swing, I'll go for the Scavenger's Talent, too. We'll see if this Rottenmouth Viper does more than the last one. Although the last one was still really sick that we got it to 1. And we got it to 1 pretty easy. Our board really swarmed with permanents. I think the opponent's wondering if there's going to be better targets than the Leech, because the Leech isn't like gaining us life or anything. And it's not like we're being ultra aggressive and fast paced too. So like, is the Leech worthwhile? I would say no, not yet, right? Because they probably need the burn to hit our face. All right. Opponent is making a decision here. I'll go ahead and pause until the decision is made. All right, a decision was not made. Timer ran all the way down. The talent hit the board, swinging with the leech. Opponent still has 5 cards in hand. This is still anyone's game. Mono red mice should still be in a great position with 5 cards in hand. However, we really have great spot removal in here for these early aggro decks. Like Witch's Vanity usually hits its mark really nicely. And then nowhere to run the -3/-3 is huge against against the Scamp cards and the Heartfire Hero, right? Anything that actually cares about its power. -3/-3 is great. Yeah, dude, nowhere to run. I wonder if this belongs elsewhere outside of enchantment builds too. Maybe. Definitely something to consider depending on what the deck list is. Looks like the opponent has left the building, guys. So the timer's going to run all the way down. And I'll gladly play this out. See what we see off the top here. Offering is not terrible. We're about to get that food token. Except we have to wait for the timer again. Okay, I'll pause and see if the opponent shows up, I guess. The opponent, unfortunately, did not arrive, guys. I would have loved to play that one out. Even if the opponent wasn't going to be doing anything, I still would have loved to play that out to see a bit more off the top with the Fanatical Offering and everything. Getting the food token on the same turn that we saw Offering off the top is actually huge. Really cool stuff, man. Yep. All right, that's it. Let's go over the deck list again. I feel like we showcased the deck pretty well, right? And it actually didn't feel nearly as janky as I thought it was going to be. What did I say at the beginning of the video? I said something like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be janky, but you just never know with like early decks when the set just releases. Like we never know what's going to be the standout deck. I guess we still don't know. Even after those games, you just never know what you're actually going to go up against sometimes. And there really are a lot of different deck lists that could be viable, which is interesting. It definitely keeps things interesting. Makes it a little harder to know what you're playing against. I'd say that domain build is definitely the scariest one that we saw today, right? And I think that domain build could be pretty consistent too. So that's one to keep your eye on. I think it'll be decent. I also think that like early spot removal and stuff in those builds are going to be essential to take care of all that early aggro as well. All right, anyways, guys, what about this deck list though? The Balemurk Leech was actually really sick. It might be a little bit of a janky pick as all 4 of them in here. Is it necessary for what we're trying to do? There's a lot of draining of the opponent's life between the Braids and the Leech, and there were no shortage of enchantments by any means. 22 total enchantments. And guys, Scavenger's talent was so good in that first game. Like, we could consider more of these easily, but it's kind of like that first game, right? I was a little confused where the level 2, like, who do we mill? Like, I guess ourselves, right? So I just kept milling myself, and it actually ended up working out nicely because what we found is not only does level 3 maybe come in handy, bringing back some important creatures. Maybe you accidentally mill like a Rottenmouth Viper or something. But then also you have the potential for a super late game Awakening the Hall to just bring back the creature. So in my confusion, we figured that out. I probably should have already known, like, oh, we should be milling ourselves because there's a small chance of bringing it all back. Speaking of like small chances to bring it all back, there is a top-end enchantment that I can't remember the name of for some reason, even though we see it all the time. Virtue of Persistence, 7 mana, also helps us bring cards back. But then at sorcery speed, the adventure side, -3/-3, gain 2 life. This is something to consider, right? And I think this is going to come down to your spot removal of choice. I don't think we're going to get 7 mana very often in here, even though those games wanted to prove us wrong. The 2 life is great. The -3/-3, again, works really well against Heartfire Hero and Scamp style builds. I don't know. I just wanted to bring this up. This probably, at the very least, should have been in the honorable mentions, right? So overall, is it budget friendly? No, not really, right? The top end is all mythic. Vipers are mythic. The Funeral Room is also mythic. And then Phyrexian Arena is rare. Braids is rare. Outside of that, the front end of the build for at least the new cards, right? Fear of Lost Teeth is only common. And the Balemurk Leech is a common as well. So common, common. Nowhere to Run is uncommon. That's kind of neat, right? Those are relatively cheap cards. Got more commons here with the Hopeless Nightmare. The Freebooter's common too. So a lot of commons actually. Like usually when, and Final Vengeance is also common. Now I'm curious. Usually when we put a deck list together, it's usually like, oh, and this is an uncommon, and this is an uncommon. Like the cheapest thing is like uncommon, you know what I mean? But this is so many commons that I'm actually really curious now. Fanatical Offerings common, uncommon, uncommon, rare. I'll put this with the rares. Put this with the rares. So honestly, that's a lot of common cards, dude. That's actually really sick. So maybe it is a little bit budget friendly. I would say probably put it on the do not craft list. It's one of those things where I was trying to explain, and I did it quite poorly, I would say, where we never know where the meta is going to settle. And how I should have explained it is, we don't know where it's settling, and I don't think it's going to settle on Mono Black Sacrifice. Does that make sense, right? But it could. I guess you never know. We had like really just sick synergies, and the removal just hitting its mark really nicely overall. A lot of great ways to restock. Phyrexian Arena. Like we said that the Scavenger's talent. Hold on, I don't like how I arranged those. Said the Scavenger's talent was like the MVP in that first game. The truth of the matter is, Phyrexian Arena, we established it on 3, and we were able to keep up pace with that domain build until, I would say, until like the very end, right? I think that could have gone either way. If they missed their Shieldred, I think that would have been ours easily. Because we hit that Awaken the Hall and just like completely drained their life down to 4. And at that point, they gained what? At least 6 off of the Shieldred at that point in the game too. So could have gone either way easily. And I think going up against a scary deck list like that and actually being able to say it was close, that does say something. Funeral Room is definitely one to keep your eye on too. If you have more of these, should you consider them? Because I only have the 2. Would I consider 4? Probably not, right? Because a lot of the sacrificing in this deck list, like we have the enchantment theme, so the room counts for the enchantment theme too, but we're not really sacrificing our creatures more often than we're sacrificing our enchantments, right? But that being said, there are a lot of creatures that we don't mind sacrificing. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just keep the 2 though, even if I had 4. That doesn't mean that if I pull more of these out of packs that I'm not going to try more of them in a similar deck list in the future. So, and it doesn't have to be an enchantment style deck list either. There's obviously other uses for the Funeral Room and the Awakening Hall too. So, all right, guys. I guess I really don't have too much to say. Kind of feel like I'm rambling a bit. So, enough rambling, huh? If you made it this far into the video, for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you. And let me know, what would you add or take out? Let me know in the comments. Was Rottenmouth Viper worth it? I think so. I think the 2 of was totally fine, especially when there is that small synergy where you might mill it with the Scavenger's talent level 2, and then maybe eventually bring it back with the level 3 or the Awakening Hall too. So just having like something on the top end that makes sense to be on the top end, that might actually be much cheaper than it actually is too. Like, I guess that does make a lot of sense. Okay, guys, now actually enough rambling, and I will see you in the next video.